So our bounty hunter Harryx Caze is stuck here on the planet of Elopa after having just hunted down his first bounty. Harryx only has 643 CC, and on the planet of Wadangolia, which is planet 8, which is right next door basically, there is a target wanted for 250,000 and a 58% cut. However, that is the currency of Pudong, which is only worth 10% of a CC, basically. So it won't be much, but it'll be enough. However, we do need to get 1,000 CC to get there, because we have to fill up our star van with gas. Harryx is walking the streets looking for a way to earn some money when he comes across the sights and sounds of a nearby casino. Harryx simply tucks his light ray carbine under his trench coat. The bouncer at the door eyes up Harryx a bit, but he doesn't seem to put up much fuss and decides to let him through into the casino. Harryx boldly approaches the roulette table. We'll put 400 down on red. That's a 9. So Harryx drops down to 243 CC. Just so happens that his favorite color is red. So are we gonna leave the casino yet? Heck no. Throw it all on red again. That's an even. We're back, baby. We're 443. So we're gonna put 200 on red again. 4, up to 800. The roulette table is going wild. Let's throw 200 back down on red again. Okay, well, back down to 600. You know, a sane man might walk away, but we're gonna put 600 on red. There it is. That is a good looking number there. But Harryx has that look in his eye and he can't be stopped at this point. Put 600 on red. Yep, you see, it was the red die the whole time. However, Harryx wants to see a 2. He wants to see 2K CC. I think we're gonna put 200 on red. Yes! You see? Look at that number. We were at 643 when we walked in. Harryx steps outside and bums a cigarette off the woman in brown, contemplates why he's even a bounty hunter if he could just live in the casino and make his living. But then he remembers, it's all about the adrenaline, man. Nothing compares to chasing down a living target, going home with a fat paycheck because of it. Harryx gasses up the star van, putting him down to 1,043, and so he's going to proceed to the star van and plan his next move. Harryx takes another look at the bounty and sees that he's got 3 goons following him, and he's going to be crashing with 3 of his relatives. Wadangolia is a no energy shields planet, and all fees are doubled. The entrance toll, which is once 500 to enter, now is going to be 1,000 to enter. Harryx is probably never going to come back to this planet again if he can help it. So we're going to skip the entrance toll, take the penalty points. Just for good measure, we're going to take our energy shield with us too. Harryx is instead going to buy himself an evac designator. And now landing down on the planet, we'll put Caze at 3 penalty points. Went ahead and gave our target a name here. His name is Cryasmanic. He's actually a mutant. He's a poikilothermic mutant, which means if he doesn't move, he tends to freeze. He's also on a volcanic planet. So there's a frozen guy on a volcanic planet. It seems like he has a death wish. It's a good thing he's wanted dead. All right, so because Harryx had some extra money because he decided not to pay his fees like a good boy, he bought a silencer. Target is going to be at a shopping mall. So I've got my terrain boxes here stacked up, but I'm not going to keep it stacked up like this while I play, just for convenience. So we've got the rooftop of the mall here, the top floor, the 3rd floor, some kind of gaming store, and a electronic store, and that is actually where our target there in blue, that is Cryasmanic himself. Cryas here needed a place to lay low after people found out he was wanted for harassment and false pretenses. His aunt here said, hey, I have a store, you can help me run the store, we'll come up with a new life for you. And of course he brought along one of his goons, another goon here, 1 goon watching the door. On the 2nd floor, going down 1 level, we've got some kind of department stores, maybe like a home goods store with appliances for sale. Looks like a storage container store of some kind. And on the bottom floor, we've got the stairwell down, like a utilities room with a couple employees. Something like a Benihana down here where they're cooking food on the bottom floor. Our buddy Harryx either has to escape through this little fence here to get out, or he can leave via the roof if he uses his beacon. So Harryx deploys outside the mall. He can smell the hibachi grill. They perhaps use the lava of this volcanic planet to cook their food for their patrons. And he's going to use his first turn to move into the entrance and start to head up the stairs towards the second floor. Employees go and attend to the various guests in the restaurant. Forgot we should actually be doing the target and his goons first. Cryus decides to make a random move. I'm ruling that anyone in a warm color is actually an employee at the mall. So we've got this man trying to sell this woman on this cargo container. And again, we've got a salesman trying to sell this guy on this used refrigerator. And this guy's asking if he can get a good deal on this roulette table. One of the goons came in from outside and started chatting up Cryus's cousin here. Maybe he's taking a liking to her in the little bit of time he spent here. This goon here is asking, are you sure this place is easily defensible? Because he's heard there's a dangerous bounty hunter in the area. So Harryx has nothing really to do right now other than to get to his target. So he's gonna step 1 inch up the stair, step 1 more inch, come out on the upper level, and finish out that move action. He's just gonna immediately turn and start heading up the next flight of stairs. After Harryx moved, most everybody in the mall pretty much stayed where they were. So let's see what this goon here is chatting to Cryus's cousin about. Oh, wow, bounty hunting. Interesting. Maybe he's thinking of a change of profession. How about our guy here talking with Cryus's aunt, the shop owner? I rolled a 100 and then a 1. Weather. I can't imagine the weather on a volcanic planet being all that diverse. Maybe they're just talking about how freaking hot it is here. Considering that Cryus is a mutant who is made of ice, I'm sure he's not having the best time on this planet. This turn he actually didn't move. He gains a stack of freeze for not moving, which means his movement is reduced by 2. And if his movement ever gets reduced by 6, he actually dies. So that wouldn't be terrible for us. Hopefully he starts pacing around a little bit, breaking some of that ice collecting around his joints. Harryx is gonna step up the stairs and move this way, vaulting over this short railing. And because the civilian is looking towards the wall, maybe she's on her phone or something, he's gonna take an action to pull his rifle now, or pull his carbine. Cryus himself approaches that goon that was chatting up his cousin and reprimands him a little bit, says, you know, keep your eyes on the goal and off of my cousin. This goon here gets bored of talking to Cryus's aunt. This guy continues tapping away at the table here. This woman here stays sat where she is, enamored with her phone or something. Cryus's cousin left the room. After seeing that goon get scolded, she decides to use that opportunity to get some air and leave the situation. Maybe she was feeling a bit embarrassed or uncomfortable. Our buddy Harryx here sees a bit of an opportunity now that she has come out of the building. Harryx decides to step up to this corner here and get a little cover. That's also going to bring him within range of Cryus's cousin, and he's going to try and intimidate her into doing something for him. Because he's got his gun out and everybody's neutral right now, he's just got to roll a 1, 2, or 3 to successfully coerce Cryus's cousin here. And on a roll of 2, he does it. Harryx tells the woman to call for her cousin and then go over behind that bench. Harryx calls over, psst, hey, you see this? I don't want to hurt you, but I know Cryus is in there, and you know he's wanted. You call him out, I'll take him, nobody has to get hurt. Why would I help you? Why would I betray my cousin? Because if you don't help me, then I have to go in there. She sees reason in what he tells her, and she also sees that carbine in his hands and decides not to argue. However, because civilians act after the target and his goons, we're gonna have to see what Cryus and his goons do before his cousin has a chance to call him out of the building. The goons both get to inspecting the whatever technological equipment is for sale in the store, trying to entertain themselves. And this goon here, who was chatting up Cryus's cousin, decides to walk over and talk to his sister now. Yikes, let's see what they're talking about. Is that a second 1? That's crazy. Again, more talk of weather. Oh, and Cryus himself managed to do nothing except gaze at this big screen here. However, there might be more talks that need to happen because now the guy's onto his cousin. This woman stood up from the chair She miraculously moved away from the chair and failed to get eyes on Harryx. Cryas' cousin here is going to call out for Harryx to come join her outside, and then she's going to step over by the bench just as she was told. The salesman in orange is, really trying to schmooze the man in green. It's funny that they're both wearing jetpacks. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Or we could roll for it on our favorite chart in the game. Okay, 61. They're talking about dreams. The guy in green says, man, I've always dreamed of owning my own roulette table. And the guy in orange says, well, why don't we make that dream a reality, my friend? On his turn, Harryx does nothing except decide to take the sentinel action. So he's going to ready a shot. Cryas, knowing that his cousin was likely upset by one of his goons, decides to walk out the door and try and make amends. And Harryx, taking the sentinel action on his turn, gets to take a free shot at him as he comes out the door. Both the red dot sight and the silencer successfully went off this round, so Harryx is going to take a shot and no one's going to be the wiser. This shot nets out with a +1 accuracy after all is said and done, so rolling a 2, that's a hit. And that shot is going to do D2 damage, so 1 damage to him. Silencer does not go off. Red dot goes off. Same odds, but this gunshot is heard by everyone. Second shot is a hit. And that's 2 damage, so that'll be 3 damage. Cryas is dead. Everyone on this floor is going to hear that gunshot, and so that's going to be immediately rocket us straight into hysteria and general panic, having just witnessed their boss walk outside and get his head blown off immediately. So let's see what they do now that they are hysterical. So the first thing they're all going to do, obviously, is whip out their weapons, and we will roll on the chart to see what they do next. For all 3 of these cowardly goons, I rolled flee, and the nearest exit is the stairwell over there. And they are all 3 just going to run this way, hopping over the body of their employer. Going to the civilians, this is a moderate planet, so on a d20 roll on a 5 or less, then the civilians will try and arrest us. So this civilian here is going to remain hostile to us for the rest of the scenario. That's a natural 20 on one of them, and the next one is a 4. So both the employees, the people in orange, are actually going to try and arrest us. Maybe they double as security guards. And unbelievably, I rolled to see if they were carrying exotic weapons, and both of them rolled a 1, meaning they're both carrying exotic weapons. This civilian will move to try and attack. However, their speed will get them out here after moving twice, so they will not be able to shoot this round. However, this one is moving to apprehend, so they will spend both of their movements coming into base contact with Harryx here, and he will try to tackle him. Alright, so Harryx is blue. We'll see who rolls higher. So Harryx gets tackled. So Harryx and the civilian are knocked down. Harryx is going to receive damages for a punch. However, his energy shield will absorb that. Civilian freaks out and decides to dive under this couch. And Harryx's sister also decides to hide, so she goes around the table. Alright, we have 3 rounds to get out before the cops show up. While they're both prone, he's not actually holding on to him. Harryx is going to stand up. He is just going to use his second action to fire his rifle down the hallway at these goons here. So rolling a 4, he's going to land that shot. 2 damage. He's going to take a second shot, firing the shot. Hits the target. How much damage? Doesn't matter. He does 1, he kills the target. Target actually has a chance to dodge both of those shots because he is facing Harryx. A 2 and 8 for both shots. So dodges the first shot. Does not dodge the second shot. This guy in the front is still alive. However, Harryx gets a 3rd shot thanks to his accelerator. Let's see how that goes. Neither the red dot nor the silencer worked for this shot. So hitting on a 1 through 3. That's a 2, so that hits. It's a D2 damage, only 1 damage. So a bit of a bummer that Harryx was unable to kill anybody that round. The goon that was just shot rolls to flee. Let's see if he slips in his own blood puddle. Rolling 1, he does slip. And then he will have to stand up with his next activation to continue fleeing. This goon immediately runs all the way towards the stairwell. And then this goon also rolls to flee, so he's going to flee down and get just to to the top of the next floor as he was a little ahead. Rolling for the hostile citizens now. Both of them rolled a 4, which is a sentinel. So they both use both their actions just to hold their positions and aim at Harryx to see if he moves. I also should have rolled for that miss. This guy in the helmet was here. He is technically in crossfire range. So that shot would have missed him. She actually decides to flee, so she's going to run towards the stairwell. Maybe she had a change of heart and wanted him to protect her after he was chatting her up. The civilian under the bench continues to hide where she is. And this civilian actually gets her nerve together and decides to attack Harryx. So she's gonna use all of her actions to run out the door. But let's see if she slips in that blood as she runs out. She does not. This man here continues to hang out at the comfort of the bench there. However, this one moves his full speed over in this direction. He notices the goon with the exotic pistol in his hand at the top of the stairs, and he will freak out. We're gonna see if he screams. He does not scream. He's a bit tense as he sees this armed gunman running down the stairs. Situation is normal in the cargo container store here. A woman that was in the department store decides to leave the store, so hopefully she doesn't end up in the crossfire later. And I forgot the guys up here. This guy is going to flee, so he's going to use his whole speed to get into the now extremely crowded stairwell going down. And the other civilian that was tucked into the corner decides to dive in between the gaming tables to get a bit of cover. Harryx, deciding not to move, decides to fire his gun at this goon that he's already wounded and catches him in the chest with one despite the red dot and the silencer not working. But he blasts him and takes away his final hit points, and that man is dead there on the floor. Harryx Caze is running out of options here, so he decides to fire down at the citizen trying to arrest him at point blank range. All 3 of those shots are going to automatically hit. So Harryx just killed his first civilian. It's just a shame that they decided to get so involved. This goon here, seeing that the bounty target's cousin is now near him again as she flees towards the stairwell, he decides to be brave in her presence and squeezes through to pull up here and get a shot right at the back of our bounty hunter. And a roll of 6, that shot misses. Goon continues running down the stairs to the first level, getting about halfway down. This civilian fires her exotic weapon through the hallway and catches Harryx with both of those, taking 4 points off of his energy shield, leaving it with 1 point remaining. And the cops are gonna show up in, I think, less than 2 rounds now, so he hasn't got much time left. This civilian, getting her nerve together, she leaps over the sofa, sprints through the blood, and tries attacking Harryx face to face. However, she manages to hit him, but Harryx rolls a 2 to dodge, manages to dodge the blow that she tried to strike him with. Both of these civilians flee down the stairs, heading down towards the bottom of the stairs. This woman meanders this way and notices that man acting hysterically, and she also begins to act hysterical. That will then cause the man in the chair to see all the hysterics going on, and he will immediately become hysterical. So he will immediately flee towards the stairwell, and he actually winds up here nearby the goon with the gun. Everything in this room mostly remains the same. However, the salesman decides to go on his break and leave the room and possibly join the ongoing hysteria that has filled the hallway. Over here, these people are still engaged in deep conversation, ignoring the screaming and running around just outside the building. Let's see what they're talking about. Holidays. Maybe whatever the Warangolia equivalent of Christmas is coming up. This civilian rolled an interact action, so she's gonna walk outside and see what's going on at Benihana. Maybe she's feeling a little hungry. Alright, it's Harryx's turn to act. He can hear the sirens blaring even up through the stairwell up here on the 3rd floor of the building. He's got a civilian in his face, he's got a goon at his back, and he's got an overzealous citizen trying to arrest him in front of him. So his options are running out. He turns his back on them and fires over the railing at this goon over here. Eventually land enough shots on that goon and takes him out. Should have found another line of work, buddy. So on the ground floor of the mall, 5 cops roll up, armed to the teeth. Harryx might need to start heading to the roof if he wants to get out of here alive. And they will move to attack. So their full speed will get them up the first flight of stairs. and coming up the second one on the second floor. This civilian, wanting to be a hero, fires 2 shots at Harryx, and despite this civilian standing in the way, managed to land both shots on him, eating through his shield and bloodying him up and leaving him with 1 hit point remaining. This goon decides to move to attack. However, he's going to get stopped right there because just above him in the stairwell is a massive traffic jam of police officers. This civilian sprints past Harryx and runs down the stairwell, gets to right about here. The civilian also decides to flee, weaving out through the doorway and down the stairwell, further clogging it up. Both of these citizens roll to flee as well, so we just have to hope these civilians keep clogging up the stairwell as they're trying to flee and the cops are coming up. This employee here is clearly done with his break because he rolled a random move and decides to head back into business, completely ignoring the column of police officers and screaming civilians at the stairwell. And this man finally runs down the stairs, being the first civilian actually out of the mall. Down here, everything is hunky-dory, everyone's chilling and grilling. And the workers in the utility room don't seem to notice anything strange going on. Harryx decides that it's worth the risk to try and grab the bounty, so weaving in and out of the blood here, go straight up to the civilian and fire 3 shots directly in her face. She was unable to survive that one. It's a shame that she decided to become a big damn hero. So I rolled for the cops to move to apprehend. However, they're completely blocked by the civilians clambering down the stairwell to try and get to safety. This goon finally decides to turn tail and use his movement to get completely off the table and out of the mall. Got one more civilian on this floor that I forgot about, which is actually Cryas' sister, so we'll see what she does. I rolled a 1, so she's going to try and flee. She's going to dodge around the blood here and use her whole movement to get right about here. She makes it just out of the door. One rolls to flee and the other rolls to hide. So this one is going to hide in the arms of a cop here. It says, "Oh, please help me." And this guy tries to flee, but is obviously pulled up by the cops as they're plugging this hallway. These two head down the stairs. They're gonna wind up on the bottom floor like this. Harryx is only able to drag the body to there, so still a long way to go before those stairs. These 2 cops are forced to apprehend these civilians just to make room for them. So I will argue that this cop apprehends this civilian and drags him down the stairs, and then this cop apprehends this one, and this will leave room for the other cops to move by. The rest of the police officers move to apprehend. This may be the end of old Harryx here. If he gets apprehended, he's already killed 2 civilians in his attempt to escape here. I don't think letting these cops take him is an option. Harryx uses both of his actions to fire upon these police officers. First at the one on the right there, catching him with 3 shots and immediately blowing him away. And then the next action on this cop to the left here, because he has no cover, and manages to take him out as well. So that's 2 police officers taken down. Rolling a 4 for this cop leads him to take the sentinel action, which will just mean that if Harryx moves, that cop will shoot. So clearly this cop feels a bit outgunned in this situation, maybe trying to reason with Harryx, get him to put the gun down and come quietly, no one else has to die. However, for the police officers downstairs, I rolled a 6 for their action, so they're going to move to attack. These 2 police officers get to the top of the stairs, which brings them into range to fire upon Harryx. Maybe these cops are rookies, they don't have the best equipment, they both got short range weapons, so they're beyond their half range. So we'll see if Harryx can survive a volley of these shots here. So because of the cover and the range of these guns, both of these guys need to roll 6s to hit. First shot, that's a miss. Second shot, that's a miss. So Harryx survives 1 more round. However, we've got a couple targets in range, so we're going to see if those targets end up getting shot instead. Civilian gets blasted. So Cryas' sister gets plastered by the police officers trying to make the arrest. And the other wild shot, going towards the police officer, manages to catch him in the back. 1 damage. So that police officer gets shot in the back by his own men. I'm literally running out of blood tokens. Look at the carnage in this hallway. So Harryx is going to do something a bit crazy here. He's going to actually fire his first volley at the police officers in the back, because if he misses, there's a chance he still hits this one that's on sentinel duty here. So he does hit the first shot. That will do 2 damage to that police officer. The next shot, and he hits. So that first police officer right here was just taken out. I forgot that police officer we just took out gets a chance to dodge on a 2. So no, he does not dodge. He does not make the second one either. This police officer is indeed taken out. Red dot sight is working me to 5. He misses the shot. Does he hit the police officer in front of him though? He also needs a 5. He hits him. 2 damage. That's enough to take out this police officer. He's got 2 more shots in this volley. He hits. 2 damage. This police officer takes 2 damage and is bloodied. That shot hits. Let's see if he dodges him. He did not dodge either shot. That shot is enough to take him out. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I think I played everything right, and I thought Harryx was going to be taken out for good. But with 1 HP remaining, he managed to stay alive and completely obliterate everyone in front of him. I literally ran out of blood markers. Harryx unceremoniously plops the bounty target dead down on the roof of the mall, goes back down, drags up the bodies of a couple goons he managed to snag, activates his beacon, and waits for the star van to pick him up, take him far away from this mall, and hopefully this planet forever. So to look at our payout, we got our 58% cut, which came out to 145,000. 2 goons, which went up to 170,000. Horrible conversion fee of 43%. We were left with 73,100 pudong, and then converting that to CC, we were left with 7,310 CC. You know what? We're alive, and that's more money than we've ever seen. So we're feeling pretty good right now. We're gonna mark another target dead. Oh, and this list of fees on this planet, you can be sure we're not paying those. So there's another bounty target for Harryx Caze. He broke a few laws on the way, but you know what? It was really all their fault for getting involved. They should have just let him do his job and get on with their day. But we'll have to see if the law ends up catching up to our friend Harryx Caze on his next adventure.